Alright, I've got a couple other things to finish up, but a package arrived and I want to see if it's going to work out. I took a guy's word for it on a blog post that these extrusions I've got in here will do what I want. And I'll just take this one right here. Yes, ma'am. Perfect. A little sloppy, but that'll work. Those run a little deeper, but as long as the work is below the surface, which it is, yep, beautiful. Alright, so the short version of this story is I want to embed these in my work table. What you're looking at here is $125 worth of aluminum extrusions. It's a Lee Valley, and I already showed you that my clamps fit in there, which is nice. And that's the whole purpose of buying them. I've laid out a grid here, and it's different from what I had originally thought. I thought I was going to go here, 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 and right there. But I've decided to loosen it up a little bit. I'll have this extra piece to cut and make extensions on the end here, and I think this will be fine. The other part is, if I do this correctly, these will all be cut the same length in the internal grid here, if I get it perfectly square. So that's the goal here. So I'm going to set up another extrusion. I'll lay out my first line here, and I've got the perfect setup here to use for keeping everything parallel and square. My first order of business is to try and get this as close to exactly center as possible. So I milled up a couple of hardwood scraps I had left here, left over from something. They're both marked. No, they're not either. Oh, I know what these are from. These are from my key cubby. So I ran through my table saw until I got this fit. And it actually didn't take me that long, but that's perfect. I mean, it's snug, no play. Now I know that this extrusion is running right down the center of this set of holes. Come down here. There. So I know this is center. Now the next thing will be is to locate this parallel. Okay, here's my setup. that I've got to cut my first groove. And they have to be 7/8 wide, 7/16 of an inch deep. So I'm going to push my edge guide. I've got it clamped here. I've got it tight to this extrusion. What this allows me to do is then to finish my cut, I can slide it along this piece down to the end. And then I've got it clamped on both ends, so this is solid with a 1-inch spacer here on both ends up against the dog. After I make my initial cut, I can come back, replace the 1-inch spacer with a 5/8. That'll give me 1/2 inch bit plus 3/8, 7/8 of an inch wide. Should be a good fit. So I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens here. Okay, that's giving me a nice clean cut. I like that. Now, the question is going to be to make sure I get the depth correct and then have my stop set at that correct depth. So I want to check this, see where I'm at. Okay, cut 1 is done. I went a hair deep on that first pass at just a few thousandths of an inch. I should probably be okay, but I'm going to find out here. So the next pass, I want to jog over 3/8 and make, I'll probably make it in 2 passes. Alright, I see what's going on. I've got the wrong base in here. I should have a thicker one. My router is sitting, this is exaggerated, but this end is low and this end is high. I've got daylight here. So I need to get that router base flat on the surface, readjust my depth of cut, which I can do. I can bottom it out in this to get my depth and adjust from there. So I got to change router bases, but I do like to fit this direction. That is beautifully snug. Love that. Love that. So let me get this corrected and we'll be right back. Alright, 2 down and 1 to go this direction. This one's got a couple of tight spots, but it doesn't take much to get it down where it belongs. So that's going to be good. Now this one, this groove is going to run right into where these bolts are. So I've got to remove those and relocate them. But I'm going to get them out of the way and come back and finish this up tomorrow. Okay, horizontal done. Maybe not. Now there. The snug fit. Some of these extrusions, I think there's just a little variance in these things, but it'll go. And it's just below the surface here. So once I get that in there, I'm not too concerned about that. Maybe I am. Okay, I did make one more pass here with my, actually 2, with my setup here. My first run at it, I used one piece of paper, which is about 4/1000. It helped, but not enough, so I used 2 pieces of paper, 8/1000 of an inch, and now you can see I got a nice fit here. Really nice. So it drops in without having to be hammered home, which is what you want, and it's still nice and snug. So that's good. I don't know what happened here with this particular cut, but it worked out. So now I can get all my, this one needs a little love tap here and there, but that one drops in nice. So we're good. Okay, onto the vertical. All right, I got quite the setup going here for this one. I have to just rely on the friction fit of this this extrusion, you know, the rip guide. I've got a block clamped underneath here to keep it the same distance from the edge of my table. I've got a stop block up on top there. Move this out of the way. Up here to stop, make a stop cut about 2 inches past my extrusion. And then when I shift over, as long as I keep everything in you know, relative to each other, I should be good to go and have a nice clean stop up there. So I have to start with my 1, 2, 3rd extrusion. My 4th one is covered. I've got to flip everything around and come from the other direction to get this one out here. So I think it's going to work. I'm going to take lighter passes when I do these to make sure that this thing doesn't want to get away from me. But as long as I keep it tight to my fence this way, pushing toward that, I should be okay. All right, always the last cut, it seemed like. When I cut this channel, for some reason my turret moved and my router went, I don't know, few thousandths deeper than it should. So what I did was cut the channel to that same depth. And now I've got a shim glued in there. It's proud of where it should be. So once that glue sets, I'll recut the bottom and make sure it's nice and level. But then I should be good to go. One of those little hiccups, I guess. Right, there's the cut I'm going to make on all the vertical pieces. This allows the clamp to slide by and doesn't affect the extrusion. The strength, I guess it probably does compromise it a little bit, but as long as I get a screw in here and one there, I like this idea better than cutting all of them. So that's my plan. I'm going to do each vertical piece from this location. I got my saw set up to just barely score that, and then I hit it with a file, and as long as I get this in the proper spot, here's my next one right there, either side of that line, then I will be good. Taken a piece of extrusion and made a mark here, and that corresponds, oh, that's the wrong side. That corresponds to this length on this side of my table. And then I went and was hoping that the opposite side over here would be the same length, but it's not. This side is about 1/8 of an inch longer. So I have to cut three pieces this length, three pieces that length, and then I'll get into these interior pieces once I get these established. Alright, I've gotten really lucky here. I've got the pieces cut right off the saw to fit really nicely. So you just have to deburr them. And the aluminum will, from the chop saw, will tend to fold over like this one folds over into that groove. So we just got to get that out of there. Give them a little once over. I've been hitting the ends a little bit. Just to get the, make sure I get all the little pieces off, so that looks good. And let's go put it in the table. This piece is going to go up here. That's a nice fit. And this piece goes in there. And what I found, thankfully, is that these pieces here are just a bit shorter. So I haven't cut those yet, but I'll clean this one up, drop it in here. That's going to fit nice. Alright, then I'll give them one little test here. Make sure my clamp slides through nice. You gotta get it at the right angle. You can't get it tipped one way or the other too much. And the final piece beautiful. All right, now No sanding required, just deburring. I did hit the edges with the file a little bit to smooth them ever so slightly. So I've got this much left over, along with 3 stubs about 3 inches long. So this worked out good. I just got to get these fastened to the table. Too small, just right, too big. So I've got to get the one in the middle. I'm going to go to the hardware store, get these matched up, and the length is good. So I need about 50 of these, or 50 to 75, depends upon how many I put in the long pieces, but that's going to work out good right there, this one. Alright, drilled and then countersunk. That looks like it's going to be just perfect. You do something often enough, you get pretty good at it. What I wanted to tell you here is, when I drilled these holes, I drilled the through holes on the drill press from this direction, and that leaves the burr on the inside, which I then remove when I do the countersink. And I found this single flute to work much better than this one here, this wood countersink. They're both wood countersinks, but this one really works well. I'm using a VIX bit on all these. I've found out the hard way. That thing doesn't go in perfectly centered and straight up and down. You're going to have trouble with your clamp catching on that. So I don't go all that deep. Just enough to make sure that I've got that bit, or the screw started in the center, and I'm going straight up and down. Then I got my torque setting. Right. Sorry for the interruption. Thing called work. At any rate, get these screws in there. And I'm not having any problem with interference from this piece of tubing underneath here, which is good. So I'm just going to continue on with this, and I'll come back when I get it all finished up. So I was checking my intersections, and I had one that I had a little hang-up problem on. So I'm using my new workbench to fix my workbench. So anyway, I've got this ground down. I just ran my file through there a few more times. I have to open this side up just a little bit more. Well, there you have it. All the intersections are clear, green light on both directions. And I found that if I lift and be kind of gentle with it, I probably should clean these out too. There might be debris in there. But if I just kind of ease it in and ease it back, try not to get too quick with it, it works pretty well. Quick update here. I did this little experiment. First of all, I tried wax in my track there to maybe make it a little less wanting to take a bite out of the or making it so jumpy. And this is kind of what happens when you get carried away with a sander. But here's a before picture of one of my clamps, and here's an after. I've just put it on a belt, like a Scotch-Brite belt, and watch this. That is fantastic. So Steve Miller said in one of his songs, Jungle Love, everything's better when wet. Well, smooth helps too. So I'm going to take the rest of my clamps and just polish up these bottoms. It doesn't affect the way the clamp works at all. I also went along this edge too a little bit and gave that a little once over. But that is nice. All right, I've been playing around a little bit with this workbench and my mind is just blowing up here. The ability to clamp anywhere in this field is fantastic. The ability to dog your workpiece and hold it in place is fantastic. The ability to register work and you know, at 90 degrees like this is going to be fantastic. If I move this over here and I had a miter coming in, I could do it that way. That's going to be fantastic. The possibilities are just endless, and I think what I'll end up doing is doing another video to show you how I can use this to hold my work here on the bench, here long, you know, planing, you know, vertically. I've got one track here. I've got two tracks on this side, 4 feet. This was 4 feet long. This one's 4 feet long. You know, if I pull these drawers out, I'll put the rest of my work on that, and then clamp. If it's taller than that, I can pull this other drawer out and use that for a rest. And if it's taller than that, I can go all the way to the floor or anywhere in between. So I'm overwhelmed with the way this worked out and how well it's gonna serve me. For the $125, and then I spent another $4 on screws. Fantastic. Really looking forward to using it. This is what this workbench should be. Thanks for watching.